Hello viewers. Today I would like to talk about a particular YouTuber who I'd spoke about before. This is going to be yet another video response. All of this is done in good faith. She has been very sensitive about this particular issue that she has been involved in. Apparently some people came to her channel and were quite stupid about it, quite autistic about it. That is not usually an adjective that I use. That is some of that 4chan parlance, which I should not use because it is really sort of a misuse of the word and is somewhat offensive. But there were some people who had some ridiculous sort of almost crazy obsessions with basically responding to this woman and saying, oh, well, women can't teach. And I'm just thinking, this is YouTube. This is YouTube. All right. So for her problem, or at least she kind of escalated the problem by making a video and sort of bringing up Tertullian in the Western Church and the like, especially considering that most of her viewers are what may be called members of a Western Church in some sense, and even if they are not part of the Roman Church, regardless if they're a part of the Roman Church or they are Protestant or what have you. She was talking about the Western manuscripts and all types of things, which is not a bad thing to talk about. However, more or less, she was erroneous in some of the things that she said about Tertullian. Because to say someone is anti-female when he joined a group called the Montanists, who had prophetesses, they had female prophets, and so they had at least 8 women office holders. So these people, they were not anti-female. So if Tertullian joined a group like that, it standeth to reason to say, wait, the claim that Tertullian is anti-female when he supports a group and actively sort of defends it, in which, they have female positions in very prominent, or rather females in very prominent positions. We cannot really extrapolate upon the history of Tertullian and say that he is anti-female or that somehow he is part of some manner of conspiracy to create a sort of anti-female church culture in the West. And the idea is that this affected all church culture and that for whatever reason he is sort of a paramount influence, which he is a paramount influence upon churches in the West, and even different denominations other than even the Romanism that we know about. So truth be told, I really did not have very much of a problem with what she said. There were just particular things that she had said that I had thought about, and I thought, this does not make sense considering Tertullian is one of the individuals who a lot of us really look up to. And especially those of us who are foundational Black Americans, whether we be of Aboriginal or African descent, or even both, American Indian or even African descent, or mixed descendancy, it doth not matter. Essentially, some of us, we sort of have a different view of sort of, how should it be said, North Africans pre-Arab conquest. In other words, some of us sort of relate to people like Tertullian because he was a North African who was involved in the church, and some of us think that, I know I myself think that criticism that she made was unfair. I really do. And the weird thing was I did not see very many people in that comment section talking about it. Not many people were talking about the fact that she was saying some things about Tertullian, which, I think that she should have better, that she could have explained in a better way. Let me put it that way. But no, for the most part, I understood why she did it. She did it because she has some particular individuals in her comment section that are somewhat rude. However, when you looked at her dislikes, she did not receive very many dislikes. Sure, there were certain comments where people were being rude, but for the most part, most of her YouTube subscribers, they already know. This is just a woman. She's sharing her opinions. This is her ministry. This is not some church where she's telling you something and just her words have utmost authority. Now, her talking about pornography as a young woman, as a pretty young lady in front of men and saying, oh, you men need to stop watching porn. And I'm thinking, lady, do you know, Layla, do you know that we live in an age now where there are almost as many women, and especially young women, looking at pornography now? There are far more than there used to be, so that discussion really needs to be expanded to more than just the men. There was a time when you could say, in a very honest way, oh, these men look at pornography. However, today we live in a different day and age. We live in a day and age where more and more women are looking at pornography, and therefore when you sort of say, oh, you men, these men, they are not doing right, they are looking at pornography and doing all of these types of deviant things, then I think that is quite disingenuous. Now, I could search up some things such as women, because it is so easy to get the statistics now. Okay? Because basically, the porn culture is expanded. So we have Psychology Today, this is why many women watch porn. Alright, you can go and find, women are watching pornography too. That culture is not just what has made men perverse. I tell people on my channel, if you want to, you viewers or anyone who is watching this, you can look at my videos. I talk about basically male health culture and people like Mike Salvini and other things. I really have not talked about the subject of perversion and pornography all that much. And I think, for the most part, that discussion, I think, has to be done in a very sensitive way, because that is sort of a personal thing. Especially when there's some young woman, some young Bosnian woman, 𝒂𝓊𝒾𝓃𝓉 𝒂𝓃𝓃, who is telling young men, oh, you need to stop watching so much. They do not care. They see you, and there's nothing that she can do about it. She is just a woman with a YouTube channel. It is not her fault. But honestly, I think it is somewhat tone deaf. It is almost as though this is something, it's going to be more effective if an older man is telling, young men or older men or whoever, hey, we men should stop looking at, such and such. But when you have a young woman doing it, a young Bosnian woman doing it, all right, that is sort of, people are not going to take that seriously because they're most likely going to look at her and masturbate. So, in all honesty, I just have to speak honestly. I just have to speak truthfully. And I would like for those of us on YouTube to do that more. Let's just be honest. Let's engage in what normally most churches are not really willing to engage in, which is just have, which they should, which is just have, but in some sense, you really shouldn't have discussions like this in any church setting. But, on YouTube, it's more of a personal thing. So when you have some pretty young woman telling, her younger men who are watching her YouTube ministry about porn, no one is taking that seriously. No one is taking that seriously. You hear the same things like the stuff about Christmas, which is Christmas is not Saturnalia. That was a whole different holiday. People have heard that so many times. The point is, if you want to, you can celebrate Jesus during that day. You can celebrate Jesus every day. Every day can be Yahweh Day, which a particular individual on this YouTube platform happens to say. Every day can be Jesus Day. And if you want to, Christmas can be Jesus' Day. You don't have to take the presents, do any of the Santa Claus stuff. You can just celebrate Jesus. You can celebrate his birth. You can just celebrate him. Eat some unleavened bread and drink some wine and praise God. Or whatever. You can eat, you can eat some grass. I don't know. You can eat anything and praise God. But, the whole thing about Christmas seems rather ridiculous to me, because people are just broken records about it, and most folks, they get tired of hearing broken records. I mean, sure, people come around, and actually not really. Most people do not care. But I myself, I have grown tired of so many Christians saying, oh, you can't celebrate Christmas. Christmas is bad. This is boring to me. So many people are saying Christmas is Saturnalia. No, it is not. Because it literally means Christ Mass. Mass means meal. You can eat a meal and celebrate Christ if you want, and do it in a traditional way. People are acting as though this stuff started with, some people call it Saturnalia, some people call it sort of a outgrowth of Mithraism and all of this. Christmas actually has a history. St. Nicholas and different things and different calculations regarding the birth of Christ. This actually did happen in an early church. And we may review it on my channel one day, because it is quite annoying. Because when you become an individual who starts to tell other people, oh, you can't celebrate Christmas, that's a pagan holiday, that is when people on YouTube, sure, you can find plenty of like-minded peers who are going to join you. But in real life, there are plenty of people who say, I just do not want to deal with those lectures. I mean, among us Christians who are sort of, who sort of are more studied and the like, we may listen to that. As for myself, I've done research and I sort of know more of the history about it. These people just look into into the Roman traditions. They look at things like Saturnalia and they start to really almost become quite focused on that, to the point where, so you mean to tell me, no, it cannot be done in any good, but never mind, I have not watched this video. I think she has a pretty good channel for the most part. I do not have anything personal against Layla. I really do not. However, the only reason I responded was because of what she had said about Tertullian. However, I do see that video is no longer here. I have no idea if she watched my video, or if, to me, there was no real negative feedback that was substantial that she was receiving. The only video that she had received, that was even somewhat negative was mine own. Now, this is another thing about grammar individuals who are listening to me, particularly early Middle English grammar. No, early modern English grammar. Oh my goodness, not Middle English. You would not be able to understand me. However, when I say my own, really the traditional way to use a sort of possessive in front of own, or rather mine own, because you see, my is usually in front of a consonant word. If you use mine own, you see the O is a vowel, so my and mine. Anyhow, I often do train myself in the way I speak, so please do not be very disturbed about this. I'm sorry, viewers, that I am not really using any commentary gameplay right now. This is not supposed to be a particularly long video. I'm making this video because I've noticed that
hi everyone, welcome.
Layla has taken a particular video down, and I noticed that was the video that I responded to. So for me, I am sort of wondering, why did she take that video down? That video, sure, it had errors in it, but the reason I do not really like videos to be taken down is because I think discussions, well, I can understand why she took it down, because there were some, well, there were not necessarily errors in it. However, I will put it this way. There was a certain degree of speculation in it. But that speculation that she had made in regard to Tertullian being anti-female was a good thing, because it made me think myself. And I thought, could he really be anti-female? And I started to think, wait, well, he was a Montanist. Montanism, Montanists as a group had particular individuals in their group who were female and in higher positions. They held office in particular ways. I brought up the article in the last videos. They had prophetesses. However, Montanism had its problems. Montanism, just like many prophetic movements, not to say that there are no true prophets. However, the problem with openly declaring your prophecies, if you have them, or in other words, if you are sort of putting your prophecies on a public stage, when you do that, people start to ask questions, and they start to think, all right, did you really receive this from God? And maybe they did, and maybe they did not. Now, how people learn or understand that they received it from God, it comes to pass. Now, the Eskimo prophet Menelik, for example, he made prophecies that apparently came to pass. All right? So this prophet, who is famous among the Eskimos, known as Menelik, he made prophecies that came to pass. You can find the book about him and the like. However, the problem with the Montanists was that they had made prophecies, they did not come to pass. There were a lot of people who also said that when they had made prophecies, that they would go into some ecstatic, almost rapturous states of sort of, how should I say, frenzy. And people thought it was quite strange. Now, that would be one thing. However, the fact that their prophecies were apparently considered to be unreliable, that sort of cements their sort of place in history as sort of a sort of phony group, a group that had claimed something and is truly a heretical group because they claim to be, prophets, some of these leaders, men and women. It was not just men, it was also women. Now, in regard to women and particular groups of women and, mixed groups of men and women, you need look no further than the Carmelite order, and many other groups. The Carmelite order is a group of men and women. Now, that is part of the Roman Church, however. That being said, we can find things in the Byzantine Church. We can find things in Protestantism. We can learn about the Waldensians. We can learn about the Quakers. All right, we can learn about all types of people in sooth. However, I have to say that it was not a bad video, and she did not receive many dislikes. The feedback she was receiving was mostly positive. Now there were some people in that comment section who, and let me put it this way. If you're a young, pretty woman with a YouTube channel, there will always be men in the comment sections and even little boys who are going to say, "You're so pretty, I wish I could find a godly woman like you." There will always be those people. And for her, what she has to learn how to do is ignore them. Don't go and talk about men specifically and say, "Oh, men, I want you men to be better. If only you men could stop being so doggish and stuff and just be better." No, she needs to stop doing that because, in my opinion, because it really is a detraction. When you are the YouTuber, you have to remember you are putting the content out. If they want to watch it, if they want to appreciate it, that is good. If they don't, then either just ignore them or, for me, I don't block anyone. I don't delete any comments. Basically. All right? And I don't think anyone should, because comments, regardless of how bad the comments are, they boost engagement with your channel. You get more views. And considering how many views she is getting, she is doing an awfully good job. She has 44 videos. I have made almost over 100 commentary videos. That being said, I do not show my face. Now, I'm not, some pretty sun-sensitive Slavic woman. Okay, so, however, I would say that it makes sense. If I showed my face, I probably would get more views. However, I just have no desire to. But, for those who do, it is a perfect opportunity for a person to grow their channel and sort of give their viewers more exposure. And I see that for whatever reason, she is sort of going away from that in these last two videos and the other video that she did. And I think, honestly, she should not be ashamed of showing her face and the fact that she is a woman. The people who are saying, oh, you can't teach, it's a YouTube channel. The woman is not in a church. This isn't some woman who's saying she's your pastor. You can watch the channel. If you do not want to watch the channel, you can just go away. Watch some other channel. If you want to watch a man so bad, go watch a man. What is all the fuss about? Oh, she's teaching people. She can teach people if she wants to teach people. It's her channel. You see, that is the difference. This is not a church building. The church itself is the body of Christ. Every single Christian is part of the church. It's part of the Israel of God. And is an Israelite spiritually, which is the only Israelite there can be, because if you're not spiritual, you're not one of God's children. So, I mean, too bad for a lot of the people over there in the fake Israel now. But no, they're not Israelites. An Israeli is not an Israelite. God says he took the kingdom from them and gave them to another nation bearing fruit. But I'm not going to get involved in that discussion right now. There's a whole video on my channel about how the church is the Israel of God. If you do not believe me, read the verse that says, you are come unto Mount Zion. We've already reached Zion, in Christ. So, hey, it is all spiritual. And if for those people who seem to think, well, the United Kingdom and the Balfour Declaration was somehow the creation of God's Israel, the Israel of God. No, you will be a part of Israel if you accept Christ. If you do not accept Christ, you have no God, because you cannot have the Father without the Son. But anyhow, it is so easy for me to talk about Zionism that oftentimes I talk about it just out, it is just a tangent I take. Right now, this is basically going to be an audio video. Nothing really is going on here. I just noticed that she took her video down, and I think that is somewhat of an overcorrection. All right? Because the woman did have a point. I would have chosen different examples, like the Carmelite order and the Waldensians. Okay. But she used some other examples, and that is fine. So the Waldensians, okay, so they allowed women to preach. The Waldensians allowed women to preach. This is a history, all right? So they were persecuted, but just about every group, whether you are talking about, and as a proto-Protestant group, that is one of the, one of the very early groups. But these groups existed. And so even when you're talking about the Roman church, you cannot really even deny that you have particular orders within the Roman church and the Eastern Orthodox church, regardless if they're nuns or other different people, they have particular positions and particular roles. All right. They are not preachers or priests, so to speak, but they have roles. They have roles. And so, and I wonder, is Bosnia or Bosnians sort of primarily Eastern Orthodox? What are Bosnians? Because apparently she's Bosnian. All right, Bosnian, I think they are Eastern Orthodox. I really do not think they are part of the Roman, or rather Byzantine. Because according to me, In my opinion, I do not call them Eastern Orthodox. I call them Byzantine because they are an extension of the Roman Empire. I know that may sound somewhat offensive, but I think of them like that, so I try not to even. All right, so that is the most widespread denomination. All right. So basically, if she comes from Bosnia, most likely her family was Eastern Orthodox. Most likely that's sort of her background. I could be wrong. However, for the most part, that is the case. But there are Protestants who, are in those countries such as Bosnia, Russia, Ukraine, and the like. So that is interesting. However, I have to say that, no, she made good points in her video. There was nothing really wrong with her video. However, she did make some speculation. She went to Abraham Publications. Abraham Publications is, in sooth, people can have their own opinions. They can make their own decisions. But I just sort of pointed that out because I do critiques. These critiques are not due to sort of my own sort of meanness. This isn't just me being mean. However, when I see people use particular sources, I question them. I sort of say, all right, let me compare this to Blue Letter Bible. Let me compare this to a website like that. Because I know that Abraham Publications is quite popular, but they are associated with a whole different sort of doctrine. Now, they are not secular per se. However, they are not particularly what you would call, it is Christian Science, basically. That is a group in the United States. There are groups similar to it as well in Abraham Publications. Whatever group they are associated with, they happen to be very similar to Christian Scientists. And Christian Scientists are just, it is a whole different sort of group. They are different than most Christians, and that is all right, because we all have to examine these things. We live in a marketplace of ideas, and people are shopping. All right? They are. Now, in regard to the whole thing about her Eastern bias, I think it is. But at the same time, that doth not matter so much because we can discuss it. Everyone has biases. She just happens to have a bias against Tertullian, which, everybody has their sort of favorite figures in history. So, to be honest, there was really no reason for this woman to take her video down. But, maybe she just felt that it was not, the quality of work that she would like. I hope that she is not being intimidated by different people on YouTube. And if you were going to have a channel, you have to remember you cannot be intimidated by people. This is your channel. You do what you want with it. If you want to do things on the street, you do it on the street. If you want to do things in your house and sort of make videos, you can. Your YouTube channel should not be a place where you are uncomfortable, doing videos. Because when you are, people can intimidate you. They can, but considering, the amount of subscribers that she has, her own personalized website, I think she knows a lot more than this. I do not think that she is entirely ignorant. But no. For some reason she took that video down, and it sort of made me wonder. I sort of thought, why would she do that when she did not receive very much negative feedback? Because there were not many people who were really there were some people who were making some negative comments. There were some people who were. But let me say this, there were not as many as she was saying. She was saying, oh, people are aggressive and such. And I was thinking, no, not really. I looked at the video. The amount of comments that she had in which people were being very sort of negative. There were very few. There were not as many comments that were negative as there were people just literally giving her positive responses. And what is more, she did really not even have that many dislikes. I think she had over 1,000, if not more, likes. Maybe I'm wrong, but she had a lot of likes for that video. For some reason, I guess she just decided to take it off, which is somewhat disturbing. I will be honest, it's somewhat disturbing. But anyhow, one of the things I did want to talk about is that I did notice something in that video of 𝒬𝓊𝒾𝓃𝓉. And I am simply going to share it with you, because this is part of the critique that I basically would like to expand upon, coming from the last video. She said something. She said basically let me see. She said BCE. She made a point of saying BCE instead of AD. No. She was saying CE. That is what she was saying. She was saying Common Era. All right. She was using the CE dating system. Some of you may not understand how significant that is to say as a Christian, especially when you are teaching, Christians. Basically, CE means Anno Domini. However, the problem is that basically Anno Domini is the Christian era after the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And so people who are secular and do not like saying Anno Domini AD, what they like to say is that they like to say, no, I am still looking at BCE. No, right, okay. Of the period coinciding with the Christian era, preferred by some writers who are not Christians. So when you're a Christian, you have every reason to say AD. When you say Common Era or CE, that is something that people who are not Christians say. That's something secular people say and atheists say. When you are a Christian, you are dating something, you have every reason to use AD, because that is literally what the dating system is based upon. The dating system is based upon Jesus. All right? So regardless if you read something that says, okay, let me see. Because I'm looking for Anno. Okay. Here we go. People usually say Anno Domini, in the year of the Lord, commonly abbreviated to AD. The computation of time, according to the Christian era, dates from the birth of Christ. This phase has become anglicized by adoption, so that an indictment or declaration containing the words Anno Domini is not demurrable. It's not being in the English. Well, anyhow. Latin for the year of the Lord. Years after the death. So the years after the death of Christ is AD. And the years before the death of Christ is BC. Alright? Before the Christian era used following dates before the supposed year Christ was born. So anyhow, you have that dating system. And frankly, if you read some of that Roman church, some of the history of, basically, if you learn about church history, you can even research the first Christmas and the first historical period in which Christians were engaging in Christmas. So this is why Christians should not rely too heavily upon secular sources. Yes, some of the historical study that you do is going to come from the Roman and Byzantine church. Even the modern Roman and Byzantine church. You are still going to have to rely upon that if you want to know some substantial history regarding traditions like Christmas. To say, oh, Christmas is just Saturnalia, well, that happened on a different day. Sure, it may be sort of a, only off by a few days, but still, the history itself is somewhat different. So that was held on December 17th, and it was expanded with festivities through the 19th of December. Now, there's some history regarding this. However, I'm not going to really talk about all of it. However, Christmas, Christ's Mass is on December the 25th. So many of the Christians who have videos about Christmas, you should ask the question. You continue to call it Saturnalia even though Saturnalia happened on a different day. There's a difference between December the 17th to the 19th in comparison to December to the 25th. So there were Christians before them who were celebrating Christians. Would they call them pagan? Would they call their grandmothers and grandfathers pagan and they were celebrating Christmas? You have to ask these questions. A lot of us celebrate Christmas when we were children. Now, for whatever reason, we are acting as though Christmas is something below us. This is what I mean. This is the same sort of pharisaical behavior that many of these people who are Christian, they want to become as Jewish as they can be, and they say, stop eating pork. You can't eat any pork. Jesus said that it is not what goes into the body that makes it unclean. It is what comes out of the mouth. So, and maybe I can find that verse. Okay. I mean, there's a particular verse for that. Okay, here we go. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. Everything is spiritual. And so if you have people who are celebrating the birth of Christ, and they are doing it in a genuine fashion, they're saying, today, we're just going to celebrate Jesus. To come against that, sure, you can go against Santa. You can go against the pine tree. You can go against the symbols. You can go against all of that. However, as for those true Christian people who decide just to celebrate Christmas for Jesus, and when they decide to do that, who of us is really worthy to literally say, oh, those people, they're celebrating Christmas. Let me tell you about Christmas. It is Saturnalia. Even though Saturnalia, hey, that was December the 17th. That was not December the 25th. That is wrong. But, this is what I mean. People should watch themselves. I hear so many Christians make the mistake of just coming against Christmas, and they basically do the same video every year for every Christmas. Every Christmas you have the same people come out and make a video about how bad Christmas is, and I wonder, why do they keep doing this? Why? And to me, it is obvious Christmas is not Saturnalia. So there are no real dark origins. Now, in regard to what was added to it, those are dark. Pine trees and Santa Claus and all of that. What they did to St. Nicholas was not how St. Nicholas was originally. There's a story regarding St. Nicholas. There's a history regarding St. Nicholas. But many Christians who are criticizing Christmas are not talking about that. Anyhow, I mainly wanted to talk about how she had used the dating system. She kept saying BC, or rather CE, instead of AD. And I was thinking, well, she is a Christian. Surely she knows that AD means, after, it means the Christian era, after the death of Jesus and his resurrection. So, honestly, I just have to say that is very interesting. But anyhow, I have no problem with her channel. I have no problem with her. I think it is very unfortunate that she took that video down, because all I know is I made a response to it. And if she saw that response, I meant no ill will, obviously. But there were just certain things I saw in that video I just felt like responding to it. And I just have to say, she just has to really do, of course, this woman is not, she has an organization behind her, I'm sure. Because to have this many subscribers, to have a good-looking website like this, No. I think she is fully prepared for criticism. She has everything set up. All right, this woman, but honestly, her sort of doing video after video talking about, can women teach, there are certain people who will never be, they always will have their own opinions about this. And, trying to address all of the criticism that she receives is ridiculous. But her talking about porn to men, no. No, some young woman talking about porn to men, that seems ridiculous. She should just stop talking about that. She really should, because honestly, if these men are going to look at porn, looking at some pretty young woman tell them to not look at porn, that's ridiculous. Because they'll be looking at her. And there's nothing you can do about that as a female YouTuber. You just have to do your content. You cannot be deterred by that. By perverts in the comment section. You cannot, you can let that stop you, but what would be the value of that? What would be the value of letting some people stop you because they are, not paying attention to you because you're a woman? If they are not paying attention to you and leaving you bad comments, all you have to do is just ignore these people, let them give their engagement so that they can boost your channel, and do not even worry about it. All right? But, as I said, some people think, they have all types of opinions, and some people are rather oppressive about it. And in some of those people's opinion, women can't do anything, which is, stupid. But those are a very small minority, and you can obviously see that they are when you look at, how many likes her channel gets on a daily basis, and if you had seen how many likes that she had got on that video that she had made about Corinthians, something about a woman, and that sort of verse in Corinthians about a woman remaining silent. All right, that was very interesting, but I just have to say that it was not that bad. However, it seems like the negativity of her viewers is sort of affecting her. But anyhow, this woman is more experienced than me. She has to be. There's no way you have 53,000 subscribers and you do not know what you were getting into. You know what you were getting into. You know that there are plenty of men who, are going to mess with you in the comment section. All right, so, she's fine. She has no real problems. I have no real problems with her. I don't necessarily agree on certain things, but for the most part, there was nothing wrong with that last video she made. There are people who are sort of taking it out of hand, but there are very few people doing that. And I know this because the amount of dislikes, I do not think that woman even received 30 dislikes. And that's one of the reasons I sort of say this is sort of a dramatic thing. This is sort of it's sort of a game. There's no way you mean to tell me you receive that much aggression and you only have, for that particular video about women, only about, less than 30 dislikes. I do not even think that she received 40 dislikes on that video. And she received, 1,000 likes? It was a lot of likes. I'm not going to say it was 1,000, but it was a lot of likes. I do believe it was almost 1,000, if not over 1,000. I cannot remember it now because that video is not on her channel anymore. But, it is all very interesting, people. As I say, if you think what she is saying is sensible, watch her channel. If you don't, just don't even watch her channel. Honestly, I watch people I do not necessarily agree with all of the time. I actually prefer channels that I do not necessarily agree with. But anyhow, I do not think this woman is so far off track. I think she has a bunch, she has some weird people in her comment forums, but they're not many. There are not many people in those weird people in those comment forums. Most people are very supportive, and she receives plenty of likes. So that is why all of the confusion about why some people are behaving in a uncharacteristic way or with some negative opinions about her or what she teaches is sort of ridiculous. I see it this way. If you don't want to hear a woman talk, then don't come to her YouTube channel. That is obvious, but she seems to really be affected by the opinions of her her viewers. For her, I do not know. Maybe this is just something that she did for views, but I doubt it. It could be. It could just be some excuse for her to do a follow-up video and lecture men about, oh, so many of you men you're not acting like men, you're watching porn and stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, you really think you as some pale Slavic woman, who is attractive to most of these men, personally not to me, but you really think that they are going to be convinced to stop watching porn because you said so? If anything, if they look at you, it will make them watch more porn or just watch your videos where you show. And there's nothing any woman can do about that. This is just something people have to deal with on YouTube. All right, if you show your face, if you show your body, that is just something you have to deal with. You have to learn how to, in a mature manner, just take it and then sort of accept that there are just people in this world who are going to criticize you or do weird things on your channel or just leave you weird, stupid comments. And you just have to continue to just go, ignore them, and continue to do your channel. I receive all types of weird comments, even with the big channel I have. Most of my comments, there are some very good discussions I have on my channel. However, I just have to say that not in every case. I know when some people are trying to mess with me or something like that. And in regard to women, especially young women, I believe this woman, what did she say she was? About 26 years old? I have no idea. I just, for some reason, that number is in my head. Maybe she said that in the video or something. But this woman has to be in her 20s. This woman, I am seriously saying she has a good channel. This is a real sort of sincere channel. I would say. And she is a YouTuber just like me. Now, I really have no problem at all with her videos. I mean, my critiques are for my own satisfaction, honestly. So I have no idea if she watched my video or because I just came to this channel. I said, I'm going to talk about how she says how she says common era instead of AD, Anno Domini. And I came here to look and see if I could get a clip of her saying CE and sort of using the CE dating system, the secular dating system, and I could not find that, so I just decided I would just have to just talk about it without really playing it for you because the video's down. Anyhow, this is all very, very, anyhow, this was very interesting. I just wanted to talk about that. Spread the news about a few things that I thought were important. Anyhow, viewers, may you be blessed and farewell.